All right. Well, hello. Happy sunny Tuesday. I'm so excited to talk about this topic today. It is truly one of my favorites, and I think it can definitely reach something for everyone. So what I want to start with is just having you, hopefully you can take a minute here and just take a breath, close your eyes with me. We're going to do a very quick visualization practice to start today. So I want you to just, again, close your eyes, take a few slow, deep breaths here. Just got somebody else joining. Hello, we are starting with a quick practice. So I'll have you close your eyes. Of course, you can come back to this later if you're busy eating lunch. But I want you to just close your eyes right now and just kind of take a minute to reflect on your relationship with exercise, some of maybe the beliefs that you grew up with around exercise, and just kind of identify a few things that come to mind. A few of the first things that pop in to your head. Okay. And then I want you to just visualize yourself as an old person, at 80, 85, 90, whatever you see as an older person, right? Just sitting in your chair, kind of reflecting back on your life and thinking about what kind of memories you're going to be thinking back on in your life, right? Is it going to be trips with family, time with friends? Is it going to be hikes you went on? Is it going to be your favorite hobbies, right? And just thinking about those things. Okay, and feeling your body fill with joy as you are looking back on those things. Okay. And as we go into today's topic, right, I want you to bring that feeling of joy and hopefulness with you and also really be thinking about how your daily practices, your exercise routines in your week are helping you to cultivate more life, right? More memories, more resilience, all of those important, lovely things in our life. Okay, you can open your eyes and let's get right into today's topic. Check out the waiting room. Okay. So, as always, this is for educational purposes only, not direct medical advice. So, I want to start quick with an office snack of the day. I have talked about my CPF Plus meal method last year, but I'm going to give you a quick recap because we are going to be talking a little bit about blood sugar. So, blood sugar is something that really influences your energy and your focus throughout the day, also your mood. So, the types of foods that we are combining together are going to influence our blood sugar. Okay, so CPF plus stands for having a carb, a protein, a fat, and a fiber in every meal. Okay, so with a snack, we kind of do a little bit of a modification. Ideally, we have all four components, but what we want to make sure we don't do is have naked carbs. Okay, so we're only eating something like the fruit or the crackers, right? We want to always combine them with protein or fat or fiber to help stabilize our blood sugar more. Okay, so this is a snack I love doing some fruit like berries, some beef jerky, and some cheese, right? So the beef jerky is going to have mostly protein, a little bit of fat. The cheese is going to have mostly fat, and then the fruit is going to be your carbs and your fiber. All right. So, today we are talking about being strong, building muscle, and the importance of strength training. So, I wanted to start by sharing a little bit, as most of you probably already know, about the history of exercise and how that has really shaped women's beliefs about exercise. Now, I, for some context, am 27, so I definitely grew up in the era where strength training for women was pretty normalized. I was also an athlete, so I saw a lot of people that I looked up to in my high school, my friends' moms. I saw many of them lifting weights, but it was still, not something that I thought a ton about. But I know that a lot of the clients I have worked with who are a few years older than me said that they had seen a lot of kind of the like exercise videos that their moms were doing, a lot of the like jazzercise and the Zumba classes, like that was really big form of exercise. There was not as much of the strength training. And so a little timeline there of kind of when stuff started coming out. Aerobics was more of a focus in the 1960s. Pilates was starting to be developed as more of a rehab program. I have heard that it was developed for like military people who didn't have equipment and were injured. Also jazzercise videos and home workout videos. So also around this time, diet culture was really prevalent with different diets, but nutrition research in humans was really pretty early. So we didn't know as much as we do now about how dieting and exercise would influence the body as a whole. So I'm going to be touching on some of those more emerging findings in the last 10 to 20 years. So strength training really started to become more mainstream in the 1970s, so pretty early. Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie Pumping Iron was released around that time, and the belief that women should start strength training was kind of starting to be more common in the 1990s. We were starting to learn that it was really great for metabolic health, so things like our heart and our diabetes risk, as well as bone density. And so I want to start with one of my client case studies, Rachel, and just show you her transformation in 1 year. She had already been doing strength training for a while prior to that first picture on the left. So she had learned a lot of that on her own before she had come to start working with me and had, seen a really good transformation. And we're going to talk a bit more about kind of the steps in which she took and in which I take with clients, because I find there's a lot of overwhelm in the fat loss space. But then there's also just, even if we have the right information, the actual implementation, the consistency component, of course, is also a challenge for many people. Most people are busy. So really the order in which I value going in my practice is starting with nutrition and stress management where we can. I do a lot of mindset work, nervous system work, really keeping blood sugar stable is a big component of nutrition. And eating consistently, not over or under eating. We're going to talk a little bit about under eating today. And then adding in progressive overload strength training to really support our metabolic rate. We actually start to then look leaner, which I'm going to talk about why that is. And then that third component would be doing even more optimization of our metabolic health, which might look like gut health focus. It might look like using a GLP-1. It might look like different supplements that can support that. But a lot of times I find people are starting at number 3, and they're only doing cardio, right? You notice cardio is not even on there. Cardio can fit for sure. It can be a part of that phase 1 and 2, but Rachel, she wasn't doing any. She wasn't doing any running. She wasn't doing any HIIT training. She wasn't doing any jazzercise. She was getting her steps in for sure. She was doing walking. She wasn't sitting all day and being still besides her lifts, right? She was still moving, but she wasn't doing a lot of programmed cardio. And that could be something she could add in now for sure. But for the component of fat loss transformation that a lot of my clients really want, it's not as big of a component as most people seem to think. So I want to share about why gaining muscle is so vital to our not only our success with consistent and sustainable fat loss or body composition change, which is I kind of use interchangeably, but also just for our overall long-term health. Okay, so I want you to think about your body's metabolism, which is like how it is using and storing energy. Okay, energy from food, right? Our food is going to be broken down into energy that our metabolism is then using. All of our different cells, our brain cells, our gut cells, our muscle cells, all have this metabolism. Okay, so think of it like a bank. Okay, so let's say Rachel's over here, right? When she wanted to start losing weight, or body recomp again. I use this thing interchangeably because sometimes the number on the scale doesn't shift, but the body looks leaner and different. So at the beginning of her journey, she's over here, right? Her metabolism bank is at $10,000. Okay. Let's say she just withdraws and she loses fat using any method, right? That could be calorie restriction, it could be intermittent fasting, it could be a GLP-1, it could be that she exercised more, right? Any of those things that might lead to fat loss, stress, right? We know grief and stress sometimes lead to that, right? So let's say she goes through that, she withdraws something Then her metabolism is over here at 3,000. Okay. So her metabolism has slowed down, become less efficient. She's probably lost muscle along with that fat, right? If you look at that number on the scale, it doesn't tell us did we lose muscle or did we lose fat. And because of this, she's going to more easily regain her body fat because her metabolism is slower. So she can consume less food to maintain the weight. Okay. Um, but let's say she is gaining muscle. So weight loss with muscle gain plus muscle gain. Okay, so she is lifting weights and doing the other steps that are important for gaining muscle, which are nutrition related mainly. So she starts over here. Her metabolism bank is at 10,000. She is withdrawing by using a fat loss tool, and she's also inputting muscle. Okay, then she's over here and her metabolism bank's up to $11,100. She's got a strong metabolism, she's more resilient, and this is sustainable change in her body. Okay. So, so different. Um, so I want to talk about a few ways that we can all kind of implement and also better understand the GLP-1 topic. Maybe you're like, I do not really care about fat loss right now. It's not even on my radar, but you have friends who do, or you have relatives who do, or maybe you're like, maybe in the future I'll be interested in this, right? These are all just things to be putting in your back pocket and also hopefully things to get you thinking, right? About, okay, am I actually optimizing for my old lady body, right? For those memories that I want to be creating in my life. So energy availability, in the context of nutrition is, does your body have enough food energy available to create cellular energy with? Okay, if it is too low, this will block muscle recovery and growth, right? So yes, there's the first component of, are we actually eating enough food before we can start to gain muscle? This is why, right on that slide where I showed Rachel's transformation, we start with the nutrition. Okay. If you start to lift weights and you're not eating enough, as you might guess, some things that can happen are you feel really sore, you feel more tired, you start to actually break down muscle mass, maybe you have gut issues pop up like diarrhea, like your body just kind of goes into this shutdown mode. There's actually a research term for it called relative energy deficiency in sport, where your body starts to slow down, right? Because there's just this imbalance in how much energy it needs versus how much you are asking of your body. Okay, so two women that I really have loved learning from in my professional career and also my personal life are Kylie Larson, which I forgot to put her name on there, but I will have that link in my YouTube video, is Kylie Larson, and then Dr. Stacy Sims. So Dr. Stacy Sims has been on some really famous health podcasts in the last couple years. She is a women's health researcher, where Kylie Larson is more of like in the actual coaching space. She's coaching women and helping them to build their strength. So they both talk a lot about the importance of energy availability and how just so many women undereat, right? And that does, some of it does go back to that diet culture that we grew up with, or maybe our relatives grew up with, our parents grew up with, where we didn't really understand at the time how much protein our bodies needed, how much fat our bodies needed, how much calories our body needs. So I want to stress this a lot, that some women who want to see a body transformation will need to eat more. Sometimes it's not that we're overeating, it's that we're undereating and missing muscle. Okay. So this is where having some data around how much you're eating can be really, really helpful. Or just really learning like some basic meal plans and using the CPF Plus. That's kind of more the route that I like to take myself, is just having that awareness, not necessarily tracking every single thing that I eat. Okay. But people will have different perspectives on that, and different things work for different individuals. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is metabolic flexibility. So this is how efficient your body can go from burning carbs for fuel to burning fat for fuel. Okay. And this is really, really important as we move into perimenopause, into menopause. It's also important for individuals of all ages, men too, but men tend to naturally be a little bit more metabolically flexible, I find, where women unfortunately tend to be a little bit more at risk of what's called insulin resistance, where their body is kind of stuck in this carb burning stage and is having trouble turning on the fat burning switch. Okay. So again, I mentioned the CPF plus method at the beginning, which I believe on my YouTube, I still have some pretty in-depth videos on how to implement that and how to better understand that as a whole. So if you want to learn more about that, head over there. But I always love to share this example here of if we were to have the same portion, okay, the same portion of chocolate cake, okay, and we were to first eat a salad with olive oil and a bunch of fiber-rich vegetables before that, here's how our blood sugar would respond, right? It's going up, it's going up, it's going up, nice and gradually, like a rolling hill, and it's coming down. Okay, we're gonna have a little bit more stable energy, and our body is just gonna be able to use that more efficiently. Okay. Whereas if we just eat the chocolate cake, right, it's going up super fast and then it's dropping down. Okay, that's just more overall stressful on the body. It's going to lead to your pancreas to have to make a lot of insulin really fast and get kind of confused. If you also kind of think about it in the historical sense, humans didn't used to have a ton of available sugar and carbs, right? They were eating more wild vegetables and meats and grains, right? So their food was a lot more likely to have this um, rolling hills effect, and they were fasting a lot more too. So they weren't constantly having blood sugar spikes and drops. Okay. So yes, your energy availability does matter, right? So when I say you might need to eat more, that doesn't mean we want to eat more from simple carbs necessarily, right? We want to make sure we're also keeping blood sugar stable. We're supporting our nutrition needs with a variety of different types of foods. And so there is definitely some data that can go into looking at your blood sugar trends too. Sometimes people's bodies just kind of get to this state where they're kind of not regulating blood sugar in the best way. And it's not always just from what they've been eating, it can be from other factors too. But what we want to do is we want to get off the roller coaster, right? We want to stay on the lazy river. We want to have nice gradual changes in our blood sugar. We want to always be moving slowly with our habit changes as well. Because if you feel like your blood sugar is kind of all over the place, you have a lot of fatigue, we don't want to just jump right to fasting, right? We still want to be eating frequently enough throughout the day, but looking more at, okay, can I add some more fiber to my meals, some more protein to my meals? Okay, those changes will happen over time. So insulin resistance is definitely a topic related to fat loss that comes up for a lot of my clients. As we, again, move into perimenopause and menopause, there's an increased risk of insulin resistance, but I've seen it too in clients in their early 20s. So testing can be a good way to identify it. Usually fitness can be a really powerful tool in shifting us out of insulin resistance. This is where we're going to kind of get into the GLP-1 conversation and how that can be important. I have some of my favorite foods on here for insulin resistance, more whole grain and fermented breads, like a sourdough or like Ezekiel bread is a great alternative to more of your like ultra processed white breads. Even some of the wheat breads don't have as much fiber as we think. Beans, potatoes with the skin, leafy greens, all the different plant-based foods are great sources of fiber. Okay, so we're going to end today by touching on GLPs. And I am not against using GLP-1s. I have many clients that have used them successfully, but what I am against is not having the full information about how to successfully use them and be able to transition off of them. Okay, I think with any medication, it is a very realistic goal to eventually be able to transition off or lower the dose. Okay, these are something that your GLP-1 hormone is something your body already makes. So kind of similar to using like estrogen therapy, right? We're adding something back in that is something your body already makes. It is going to be a more synthetic form of this hormone, but it is something your body already makes. So the question can also be, how can we help our body better to make GLP-1 hormone, right? Nutrition can be really powerful for that. Different herbs can be powerful as well. But what GLP-1s do, right, is slow down digestion, increase our feelings of fullness, and can help to lower inflammation and insulin resistance. Okay, so I didn't put inflammation on this slide, but it is a really fascinating area of research that's coming out more and more, is how GLP-1s can help manage things like endometriosis, Hashimoto's, autoimmune conditions where there's just a lot of inflammation from the immune system. But again, as a functional dietitian, I'm going to be looking at, well, what is the root cause? Are there more things we can do to limit, like really decrease the root of that inflammation, along with using something like this while we are managing that? So as you might be able to guess, GLP-1s can potentially impact our body's stress response, but it's not going to be just, okay, I take the GLP-1 and immediately my body is more stressed. It's more the aftermath of what is happening, right? If we eat a lot less, and I have seen this happen in clients, if we are eating one meal a day, our body's going to move into more of a stress response, right? Food signals safety. I was just chatting with a girlfriend this weekend who we don't talk about nutrition a lot of times, as you might find it maybe surprising that a lot of my friends, they're not super into the health stuff. And I'm in a social setting. I'm not working, right? That's not what we're talking about. But she was asking me about fertility. She was like, okay, I need to start probably some prenatals and things. And I already kind of knew that she was interested in that. And I remember, food signals safety in the body, especially as females. Okay. If our body is honestly starving, like we're going to feel more stress. We're going to have more cortisol. Okay. More stress hormone cortisol can impact things like anxiety, our gut health, our skin health. Okay. So we have to find, if we're interested in using GLPs, we have to find this middle ground. And we also want to think about kind of our past stressors that we've been through, things like past childhood trauma, history of eating disorders, being an extreme athlete, or being in a postpartum window. All those things that come to mind as things that have put the body through a lot of stress. So it may not be the best time to start a GLP if we haven't kind of healed from some of that stress. And so thyroid health as well is really important. Again, low energy availability can impact the conversion of T4 to T3 and slow our overall thyroid and our overall metabolism, right? So we gotta be fueling appropriately to have healthy, sustainable fat loss and body recomp, okay? A few other factors that influence thyroid health: having autoimmunity like Hashimoto's, which a lot of times connects to our gut health, too much fasting, lack of vitamins and minerals, and then also our liver health. Okay, so definitely encourage getting a full thyroid panel if you have never had that and you are struggling with anything like energy, mood, weight loss. Thyroid could be something that needs to be addressed. Okay, so as I had mentioned, there are herbal and nutritional strategies that can also help with insulin resistance and GLP-1. We still want to start with that nutrition first, strength training next, optimization third approach. The cost can vary with all of these alternative options too, where GLP-1s are getting covered by insurance for more and more people, which is wonderful, but they are still relatively new. So I'm always super happy to chat about questions you might have, interests you might have in any of the topics I have touched on. So you can email me. I have my email address right there. You also probably got my email today. If you would like to book a strategic health audit, which is just a one-on-one call with me to talk through where you're currently at in your journey. Let's see, do I have any chat questions? I did not keep an eye on that. Does anyone have any questions? Hopefully no one feels like I am bashing other forms of exercise like walking, Pilates, yoga. Those are all wonderful, wonderful exercise tools as well. I always say all movement is good movement, but I want everyone to have the most accurate, effective exercise information. So building muscle is for sure important. Thanks, guys, for joining. I will plan our next one about a month out. I'll try to send a little bit more email reminders before the next one. I hope you have the best day, and it is looking sunny here. Hopefully you guys are getting lots of sun there too. All right, I'm gonna hop off if I don't have any other questions. Bye, guys.